From Shaquille O'Neal's ginormous slam dunk to Michael Jordan's farewell and Magic Johnson in the 1992 All-Star Game, here are the most memorable NBA All-Star moments of all time. Starting with the one and only Marvin Gaye sings The Star-Spangled Banner in 1983. When people try to put their spin on the Star-Spangled Banner, they don't always come out on top. In 1983, Marvin gave a performance that set the bar for success stories. And yes, even now, his version of the national anthem is a treat for the ears. It's slow, steady, and powerful. In fact, looking back has only made his performance more famous. Gaye's effort came at a hard time in his life, and the practices leading up to the All-Star Game didn't go so well. Andy Green wrote in 2014 for Rolling Stone, a little over a year after this show, Gaye's father shot and killed him, but his soulful singing is still heard. Which reminds me, there was another person who did the same, although it ended in a much different way. In 2018, Fergie had her version of the anthem. It wasn't nearly as popular as Marvin's version, and I don't think it's fair to criticize people with talent for trying to do too much. Putting on a show for a lot of people is hard. Really, we might not be talking about this anymore if people hadn't reacted live to her swing and miss. But in the end, Draymond Green and Stephen Curry could be seen laughing out loud. LeBron James looked like he was trying not to laugh, and Chance the Rapper was smirking. The Associated Press says that as she kept going, the crowd at Staples Center let out a low chuckle. And just like that, something went viral. Josh Duhamel, who used to be married to Fergie, even asked Green to say sorry. It didn't come. Instead, we all got a video of the Golden State Warriors dancing to Fergie's song as a remix. And much like how she made a statement that day, Michael Jordan owned the weekend in 1988. The dunk contest that year is still one of the best. Jordan went up against Dominique Wilkins, who beat him in 1985. If you have the chance, go back and watch the best parts of that jam. Trust me, it's a good use of your time. Jordan's moves at the free throw line never get old. In the last round, he beat Wilkins and the rest is history. But I'm not making any exceptions because his all-star performance is good enough on its own to be included. After that amazing dunk-off, he blew up for 40 points, 4 steals, and 4 blocks in front of the Chicago fans by making 17 of 23 shots. He also finished with 5 fouls, which would be pretty good for an all-star game today. This is more proof for the crowd that yells at clouds that players after 2007 are as soft as 9-ply bath tissues made to order. Anyway, the East beat the West by a score of 138-133, and Jordan won MVP for the first time in an All-Star game. So now, moving on, let's talk about their dunks. You know which one of them was the best of them. When Shaq dunked the Admiral into another dimension. Find a slam that hurts more. I dare you. You couldn't, right? For the San Antonio Spurs, it was going to be a night to remember. But Shaquille O'Neal had other plans. Instead of bowing down to the Admiral on his home court, O'Neal, who was then playing for the East, put the best big man in the league on a poster. But he stole the show with his 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks, and 1 face check on Robinson. When he left the Orlando Magic for the Lakers in free agency 5 months later, it was a sign that the Admiral's reign over the conference was coming to an end. Which reminds me, Michael Jordan bid farewell for real in 2003. During his last All-Star game in 2003, Jordan didn't do anything out of the ordinary. After a last-second gesture from the fellow University of North Carolina grad Vince Carter, his airness was moved from the bench to the starting lineup. He then responded with 20 points by making 9 of 27 shots, just like Allen Iverson. But in the last few seconds, with the score tied, he had the ball. And Grandpa Mike once again showed that he could play ball by swishing what should have been the game-winning shot over Shawn Marion's outstretched arms. Obviously, it didn't win the game. Kobe Bryant was fouled by Jermaine O'Neal at the other end, and the West won 155-145 after 2 overtime. But wow, Jordan has had more opportunities to walk away than anyone else. GOAT behavior is coming close to winning an All-Star game while staring 40 in the face. Oh, and if his shot that isn't enough to convince you, the fact that both he and Kobe were mic'd up should. Also, speaking of Kobe, let's talk about the time when he and Shaq shared the MVP honors in 2009. The two stars teamed up again less than half a decade after they stopped playing together for the Lakers. This time, they did it as Western Conference All-Stars, and together they beat the Eastern Conference, led by LeBron James 146-119, to share the MVP award. Kobe had 27 points, 4 assists, and 4 steals, while the big Aristotle had 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists in just under 11 minutes of play. Still, fans got to see a flashback of one of the best pairs ever, and it happened during O'Neal's last All-Star game. So, as much as we love that night, I think all of us were just as shocked when Anthony Davis broke Wilt Chamberlain's scoring record in 2017. The latter scored 42 points at the NBA All-Star Game in 1962, which seemed like it would be a record that would last for 60 years, until 2017 when Davis came along. He said in public that he wanted to be All-Star MVP, and then he scored 52 points in front of the New Orleans crowd to break the old record. He also took a record-setting 39 shots, which Pelicans head coach Alvin Gentry said were too many. The goal has been reached. He won the MVP award and led the West to a 192-182 win.
Garden Sporting City, I love the people here. I love the culture. These guys come out and support us every night, whether we win or lose, and that's what I love.
If you remember anything about 2017's Superstar Party, other than how many points he scored, it's probably the DeMarcus Cousins trade, which happened during the game. He left the Smoothie King Center with the win, a new NBA record, the MVP award, and a new All-Star teammate. But there's still one moment that still gives me the jitters. Magic Johnson in the 1992 All-Star Game. In November 1991, Magic Johnson said he had HIV and would leave the NBA because of it. Fans chose him to start in the 1992 All-Star Game, even though he didn't play during the regular season. Both the league and Johnson agreed, which set up what is still the most memorable part of February's show. Even though the whole weekend was a party for him and his career, no one knew what would happen during the game. In the last 2 minutes of the game, Johnson gave Dan Marley an assist, got Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan to miss jump shots, and made his third straight three-pointer. With time left on the clock, players from both teams stopped to think about Johnson's 25 points and 9 assists.
He scored 5 points, he'd be the MVP.
The best thing was that after he made it, they just stopped, okay? The East was not going
to you the Most Valuable Player Award for today's game, and Miller will donate $5,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund on your behalf. Congratulations.
So guys, these were all the most unforgettable NBA All-Star moments in history. Which one did you love the most? See you in the next video.